Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Cozy Christmas Podcast. I'm your host, Art, and insomniacs rejoice because there are only 3 more sleeps until Christmas. In all seriousness, this month is zipping by, but we're making some time for family, and it's been such a blast. So come on in, we have a great episode ahead. Today we have special guest Johanna Jones, and I'll be reading some stories from the Vermont Homesteader's Christmas Memories, and I want to thank the author for giving me permission to do that. And then we'll check in with Gracie. We'll review the ELVES play that we saw. So let's start with the interview. I'm here with special guest Johanna Jones, and I'm also here with Gracie.
Hi.
Say hi, Grace. Okay, good. We're going to put our special guest Johanna Jones through the ringer of very tough Christmas questions. So, Johanna, I hope you're ready for this.
I am so ready.
All right. Well, welcome to the Cozy Christmas Podcast. We're excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Folks may not know who you are yet. Some might. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Johanna Jones. I am 25 years old, born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now I live in California, which is very exciting. But I was actually on American Idol in 2019. You might recognize me as the one who shoved a bunch of potato chips in my mouth, as well as the one who was proposed to in front of Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, Lionel Richie. And my husband, Matt, he's now my husband, no longer fiancés. We've been married for a little bit over a year now. Yeah, I mean, I've studied commercial music, studio engineering and production in college, and I've pretty much been doing music my whole life. And Christmas is my favorite season of the year, so this year I decided to do a Christmas album. It's only 5 songs, but I am very proud of them and very excited for people to hear them.
So you were on American Idol. I don't watch American Idol at all. I guess Gracie does a little bit. You watch them on YouTube, don't you?
Not really.
No. Okay. Well,
I watch some kind of I do watch stuff similar to that, but
yeah, we got a kick out of it. We were watching your video today when you were proposed to. Your husband has set the bar for proposals now.
Well, it's such a funny story because I really had no idea he was going to be there. I mean, truly, I had no idea. And I remember during the interview before, they were asking me a lot of questions about my boyfriend. And I was like, do they really want me to just rant about my boyfriend? I was like, I'm sure that they want me to talk about something else, because I'm sure that they don't just want me to vent about my boyfriend. And I remember in the interview, and especially watching it again, I'm like, everything going through my head is, am I talking about him too much? And then there were times where I was tearing up and I was like, oh shoot, now I'm crying talking about him. I need to stop. I need to rein it back in. And I had no idea that he was down in a basement getting ready to propose to me at that time. But no, it was very unexpected. He had planned a whole proposal actually about a month later than when he actually proposed, but it was really last minute, where he was like, I already have the ring. I mean, she's at Hollywood Week. And he just reached out to a PR person at ABC and said, I don't know if you can get me to the right people, but I was planning on proposing anyway. Maybe I could propose on the show. And the next day, a producer called him, and he drove something like 10 hours to get there. And it was crazy. And he really did surprise me. Oops. He surprised everybody. My parents had no idea. Only a few people backstage even knew why he was there. So it was a surprise to a lot of people, but it was a pretty great surprise.
Well, I've got to make sure I have the link in our show notes so everyone can watch that. And it was a great performance too. I really liked the song you sang. It was really beautiful.
It kind of shocked me when I heard her at first. She's like, it was amazing. It was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Such a deep, powerful voice coming out of you. That was That was really nice.
I know it's a little unexpected, but I like soul.
You decided to put together a Christmas album, and like you said, there's 5 songs. Now these are original songs, I think.
There's only one that is not an original, but 4 out of the 5 songs I did write. The only one that is not an original is Little Snow Girl originally by John Gary, and I actually made that one a duet with my husband, so he's actually singing with me on that one. But the other 4 songs I did write. They're all originals.
Just to kind of walk through the songs, the first one is It's Christmastime, and you describe that as a kind of a smooth jazz sound, and that's the one your husband Matt, he had emailed me all these links and everything, and I was about halfway through that first song, and I got back on my email and said, yeah, I'll have her on. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, that first one so I actually put them in order of when I wrote them, like which songs I wrote first. So I wrote It's Christmastime first. And really my goal was to write a song that just felt like Christmas, that had all the imagery and everything that makes Christmas wonderful. So that's where It's Christmastime came along. It captured everything that Christmas is.
Right. It's very relaxing, and so I really enjoy the things that help make Christmas cozy, that help you relax or unwind or enjoy the season. And yeah, that one I just thought, yep, this is a really good one.
That makes my heart so happy.
Oh, good. And I think it's neat because I've been talking with some podcasters. We kind of chat about Christmas music, and we need new songs. We need new classics, basically. What's going to be the new classic in 20 years? So I'm always excited to be listening out for new music like this. And I think this is one that will, I can't wait for it to come out and get it on my on my playlist. So
he has a whole playlist of Christmas songs. Like he just has like 700 different versions of one song.
Well, not one song, no.
I've seen your Christmas podcast album.
I'm sorry. What were you just gonna say?
Oh, I definitely wanted to write some songs that, I don't know, I just felt like a lot of the new Christmas songs nowadays are a little too poppy for my taste. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I do have a pop Christmas song in there, but I definitely wanted to have some new Christmas music that wasn't just like a pop song that has the word Christmas thrown in there every once in a while. I wanted it to actually sound and feel like Christmas. So yeah,
it's like the movie debates, if a movie is a Christmas movie or is it a movie set at Christmas. There's a difference.
Exactly.
There's a difference. Your next song is Follow That Star, and this one is kind of is a gospel song, and you have a big choir of friends there to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that choir that you were able to put together.
Yeah, so luckily my mom was a part of Gladys Knight's gospel choir, so she's got a lot of really amazing people that she's friends with. So I was lucky enough to have a couple of her old gospel choir members join in and sing background on Follow That Star, as well as some of my American Idol friends that I met on the show that were able to come and participate as well. And really just everybody that I knew that sang that I could get there during recording times. I had people come in and we recorded each part separately, but it turned into this big phenomenal choir sound. And it was really a surreal experience to have something that just exists in my head become this big lush choir and have all these people together to sing a song that I wrote. It was an experience unlike any other. But yes, I love Follow That Star. I wanted to have a good balance for this album of writing sort of classic Christmas songs and then songs that were sort of nativity related, like the true meaning of Christmas side. And so I wanted to have a good balance of the two sides of Christmas, I should say.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of my favorite things of Christmas is, we've got the sacred with Christ, and then we have the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to make it sound like God is boring, but
the fun and cozy.
Yeah. But yeah, there's the fun side. I mean, we have lots of fun at
The
Christmas.
exciting side.
The exciting side. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. But yeah, follow that star. That had to, like you were saying, just have been an amazing experience for you to be able to hear, the words you wrote and the music you wrote just coming out of a choir like that. It's got to be incredible.
Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. And I hope that people can feel that as they listen to the songs, just this energy and this build that's unlike any other.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Well, and then you have Little Snow Girl, which you had talked briefly about. And that's, again, kind of a jazz type style of song. And it said it's a little girl in love with her new snowman and is torn apart that the snowman has to go away every year.
Yes. It's funny. It was one of my favorites as a little girl. It was originally on the John Gary Christmas album, which isn't very well known, but I always thought it was such a fun and playful song. And listening to the version that I did, I mean, I think made it a little bit more emotional than the original. The original's very light and playful, and I think that the duet that my husband and I did made it a little bit more emotional, but still pretty playful. And I like to also think that there's a lot of different meanings that could be behind the song, of not just a little girl and her snowman, but any kind of scenario of somebody having to go away, but not having to fear because we know that they're going to come back. So
yeah,
one of my favorites growing up, definitely.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one. So we'll have to see if some of my music friends who are really into music have come across that. But I thought it was really sweet, and being the father of a daughter, I mean, that song just nails it. I won't tell any stories about you and your teddy bears. Oops.
I had lots of stories with my teddy bears. In fact, I think I still have some. So. Well,
there you go. I reassure her that you're never too old for a teddy bear. So. Never. Right. We get another religious song that it's called Warm and Safe, or Mary's Lullaby. Now, this one, really weird. By the time the song was done, I had some allergy reaction or something. I don't know. My eyes were watering.
Are you sure you weren't just crying?
Oh, I don't cry. No.
No, this one, so Warm and Safe. It's funny because this project, so my Christmas song was this whole Christmas album was a capstone project for graduating college. This was the project I took on to kind of show my professors what I learned. And when I wrote this song, I only had about 3 weeks left until my project was due. I had to have all my songs produced and turned in, and I was very stressed. And obviously this was years ago, so this wasn't, I had them redone to release this year. But when I wrote this song, it was about 3:00 in the morning, and I felt so lost, and I couldn't think of anything else to write about. In a moment, I thought of the statue by Michelangelo, the La Pieta. And that's the one, if you don't know, it's the one of Mary when she's holding Christ after he's been crucified. And I don't know why, but that statue stuck out in my brain. And in about 10-15 minutes, I had the whole song written down. It just sort of came out all at once. And I like to think of it as, Mary's his mother, and she would sing the same lullabies to him as a baby as she would to the end. And so I wanted to have this transition of beginning to end, of new life as a baby and new life for everybody at the end. So it was this transitional song, but definitely took me quite a few takes to record. I cried quite a bit. I think the take that I finally got was maybe the 9th, because it was hard for me to get through. But that one's probably my favorite song I've ever written, just because I partially feel like it's not mine. So yeah, I really love that one.
Yeah, it is a very powerful song, and the imagery in the song itself is just profound. And I think listeners who are religious will find that to be a very meaningful song. That's definitely one of my favorites. And like I said, I was a little misty eyed by the end. It's a good one. And then we end with a really fun, well, sort of fun song.
Right.
Santa, you screwed up.
I know. It's quite a contrast to the one before, but
Yeah, you really can't get much more different than that, I think.
it's true. Yeah, so Santa, you screwed up. It was the last song I wrote 2 days before my project was due. I really pulled it out of thin air, but I was trying to come up with something quirky and unique, and I knew I wanted something upbeat, just to really seal in the album and give it something different. And I just thought of that concept of what if you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas? I mean, we always talk about getting what we wanted for Christmas and love at Christmas time, and I thought it would be kind of funny to have this story about a girl who didn't get the guy for Christmas, and who can she blame but Santa Claus, but Saint Nick. So that one just kind of came out of nowhere. And then of course I wanted to have some like Benny and the Jets kind of feel in the middle of there. So yeah, that one kind of blossomed, but I thought it would be a good way to end the Christmas album, just something very lighthearted and funny.
Yeah, it was great. Now, do you play instruments, the piano at all, or are you just a
I do
singer?
play the piano. I play the piano, but not amazing. I can do the basics. So I did have my friend who produced the album for me. His name's Gavin, and he is an amazing keyboardist. And so he played all that jazz, the lush jazz piano. And then, of course, he was the one who arranged everything, the drummer, the string quartets, the horns, everything. He was really crucial to this project. But yeah, I do play piano. I wish I played more. I always kind of kick myself that I ever quit piano lessons, because I could have been a lot better. And I wish I learned how to play the guitar. I play a little ukulele, but not great.
Me too. And you play guitar.
Yeah, Grace and I can play ukulele. I mean, very basic chords. Then I play guitar. Again, I know like 6 chords, but
it's enough to make some songs.
That's more than I know.
Yep, it's enough. I can strum it and we can sing some. As long as the chords are real basic, I can do it. Right. So, but it is so fun to be able to be creative like that, and just to sing or to let loose with an instrument or whatever. There's a lot of joy in that.
Definitely. And I will say the piano, with what I do know with the piano, it gives me enough to be creative, where I can pretty much come up with anything. I just, if I want it to sound professional, I ask the professionals.
There you go. Yeah. I had taken about a year of piano when I was 10, maybe. And I wish I'd stuck with it, because I didn't. And that's one of those things I regret, is that I just kind of gave it up as being dumb. So
yeah, I did too. I think we all kind of hit that point, and then
me too.
For those of us that do quit, we kind of kick ourselves later on in life, but
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right. We find other ways to make up for it, I guess.
Exactly.
You had mentioned Christmas is your favorite holiday.
Whose isn't?
Yeah, whose isn't? If you're if you're listening to this podcast and it's not your favorite holiday, I don't even know what you're doing. But what are some of your favorite Christmas songs?
Oh, favorite Christmas songs.
There's lots of good.
I love listening to the Carpenters.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's such a warm, that's the sound of Christmas to me. I love, of course, chestnuts roasting. I think my favorite Silent Night, my grandma would sing Silent Night every Christmas Eve. We would have a big family party, and then we would always start off with my grandma singing the first verse of Silent Night, and then everybody joins in and we all sing the other verses together. So that's not just a special song because of, the words and the feeling, but because it's part of my family and part of our old family traditions. But yeah, definitely love Silent Night, A Christmas Song, Chestnuts Roasting. I mean, I do, of course, love the Christmas Shoes song. It's such a fun, such a sad song. But I remember cheering every time it came on the radio as a kid.
Christmas Shoes?
Yeah, the surrounded by these shoes.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't hear a lot of people who like that song for some reason.
I know.
Oh,
I guess I
Christmas
just have
Shoes?
that.
Oh yeah, that song.
Yeah.
I just must like the sad ones. But no, I as a kid, it was my favorite because
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just was always so touched by it and thought it was such a sweet little song of a kid wanting to get his shoes
Yeah.
for his mom. So I do really love that one. Oh man, there's so many songs that I love.
I know. I mean, just pick one, and I like that one.
Exactly.
That's like my favorite. Yeah, yeah. What about Christmas movies? Do you like put on a movie and help you get in the mood?
Definitely love A Christmas Story. That's classic. I can't go a year without watching A Christmas Story. My family always watches, and of course, Elf is a great one.
Yes.
When it comes to classic Christmas, I mean, I love watching the Rudolph and Old Frosty the Snowman. My family does watch White Christmas every year, although I wouldn't say that White Christmas is necessarily a Christmas movie. I think that it's one of those, it's just a movie that happens to be set around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, It's a Wonderful Life. You have to watch It's a Wonderful Life every Christmas. Oh, and Home Alone.
Oh,
there's so many.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Home Alone. You have to watch Home Alone. At least the first and second Home Alone. Every year, have to watch those.
I remember watching Home Alone when it came out in the theater. I don't know, we missed like half the dialogue because everyone was laughing so hard at the movie. It was kind of funny.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've only seen it like a few, but
yeah, you've only seen it maybe once or twice, I think.
Yeah.
I'm a bad parent sometimes.
They were funny. They were funny though.
Yeah.
The ones I did see. And like when the kid is just doing all these things to like, what was it? It's been a few years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, he did lots of stuff to the burger.
All of those things, like they look so painful. Like
Yeah.
One I remember was he had like tarp on the stairs and there's a nail sticking out of it and the dude just steps on it and I was like, oh, I felt that.
There's a funny video if you look up on YouTube. It's actually it's called the kill count of Home Alone, where how many times they would have died if it was actually real and not Hollywood situations. But yeah, it's such a funny movie.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen It's a Wonderful Life until just a couple years ago, and I've shared the story on the podcast before, I'm sure, but it was one of my wife's favorites, or she just really liked watching it, and I, for whatever reason, thought it was just a terrible movie, even though I'd never seen it. So I actually sat down to watch it, and I thought, wow, this is a really good movie. I like that. That's not so bad. So yeah, I don't know what my problem was. But
no, I know. It's funny because It's a Wonderful Life isn't necessarily a Christmas movie either.
Right.
I think at the very end they're standing by a Christmas tree. But it's one of those that I think just makes people feel good, and everybody wants to feel good at Christmas time. That's kind of what the season's about. So it's perfect to sort of fit into the season.
So you're living in California right now, you had said. So you probably have some pretty warm Christmases there, I'd expect.
I mean, yeah, it gets a little bit chilly. I'm from Vegas, so maybe I'm used to warm Christmases in general. I did for a while live in Utah, so I know what it's like to be in the snow, but I get very nervous in the snow. I don't like driving in it. But no, I mean, we've only been here for one Christmas so far, so this would be our second, and it does get pretty chilly. We don't have, we don't put our heater on. We just kind of get snug in our blankets, and it can get to the to the 30s, which I know this isn't that cold, but when you don't have a heater on, it can get pretty cold. So, we just get cozy in our blankets, and I like it because then I can make hot chocolate and put the tree on and listen to Christmas music, and it feels like Christmas, and it's very fun. But no, it doesn't snow here, and we live fairly close to the ocean, so we still will walk outside and get like that salty sea smell. It's okay because we make Christmas happen anyway.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I when I was a teenager, we lived in Washington State, and I lived near a beach. It was an inlet. So it would get cold, but it wouldn't hardly ever snow because of just the ocean temperature and stuff. But I do remember a few times it snowed, and that was always really exciting.
Snowed here today.
Yeah, well, and we had some snow today, which was a surprise.
I wish when I was a kid in Las Vegas, so it barely snows in Las Vegas. And when I was in 8th grade, it snowed a couple feet, which is crazy for Las Vegas. Yeah. And trees broke, and the entire city basically shut down. I mean, you would think it was 2020 with how dead everything was. Nobody was on the streets. There weren't snow plows because Vegas isn't equipped to plow the streets in a timely manner. So nobody was driving around, and I'd never seen my street white before. And that was a really cool experience. Just walk out in the middle of my street and see snow falling in the lamplight and see all the houses covered in just blankets of white. And I'd never seen that before. And my sister brought out our little speaker, and we played Christmas music down the street. And you've got kids playing snowballs, and all the neighbors opened up their backyard when they had fresh, untouched snow that all the kids could play and get snowballs ready. So that was a really magical time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I liked snow when I was a kid, but then I grew up and I lived in snow and realized it's not as fun when you're grown up and have to drive places. But
I'm 42, and I've noticed now when the snow and cold weather comes, I sure have a lot more aches and pains than I used to.
Exactly.
Oh, so I send my boys out to shovel now instead of me doing it. So we'll put them to work.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why you have kids, right?
That's right. Yep, I have kids to put to work, right?
2 teenagers and an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, so the 2 teenage boys, they do all the work, and then Gracie bosses them around. So that's the way it should be, right?
Exactly.
That's how it works.
That's right. Well, she says that's the way it works. So
in most families.
Right.
Ladies in charge.
Ladies in charge. Okay. Well, that sounds like an exclusive scoop here. Ladies are now in charge. Got it. So do you have a favorite Christmas tradition that you and your family like to do?
Well, one thing that we did, and this was sort of like a Thanksgiving and Christmas tradition. So it was actually after Thanksgiving, but my grandma would make they'd get these big pie tins, like gigantic pie tins, and my grandma would wrap little presents, just something small like socks or gum or something like that, in them. And she would place them all in this pie tin with a ribbon attached, and at the end of the ribbon had our names on it, so everybody got a little gift. And then she would wrap the top of the pie tin with brown paper and draw a little pie on it, and everybody would find their ribbon sticking out of the end of the pie. And on the count of 3, we'd all pull at the same time, and all the presents would rip through the paper, and everybody would have their first gift of the Christmas season. So it was our little tradition. We called it the Porky Pie. And everybody at Thanksgiving would be able to pull their gifts, and we would all have our first Christmas gift every year. So that was something that my family did when I was growing up that I really loved. And even though like we knew it was something small, like most of the time I think I would get, Hubba Bubba or a pair of socks, but it didn't matter because it was just so fun to gather around with all my cousins and be able to rip open that porky pie. And I don't know, it was just such a fun experience, but I did love that growing up. That was a fun tradition that my grandma came up with.
Well, and like you said, it's fun being around family, around your cousins.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've I've seen mine.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see, my wife's sister, they have 6 kids.
Yes,
Is that
6
right?
kids.
Yeah, 6 kids. So we have a bunch of cousins to try to get out and see.
Yeah, and it's been quite a while. When was it?
Yeah, it's been a few years.
2016, 2015?
Yeah,
Something?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Wow. I have quite a few cousins too.
I feel bad for
Junior.
the parents having to get so many gifts.
I know. Yeah.
Like, how do they have enough money to get all those presents for all those kids?
That's a good question. You'll have to ask her. When is your new album coming out, and where can we look for it?
Yeah, of course. So it's already out. You
Okay.
can listen to it anywhere. I believe it came out on November 13th, which was World Kindness Day, which is why we decided to release on November 13th. Plus, we didn't want to touch the election. We thought people would like to have a break from politics. So
Yeah.
Christmas music, that's what we need.
That's right.
So it's actually out everywhere. You can listen to it on any streaming platform. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Prime Music. It's also on YouTube if you want to listen to it on YouTube. There's really, any streaming platform that you can. We're working on getting some CDs printed and made so that people can also purchase CDs. But that's still a work in progress just because it takes a while for them to make them and ship them to us. So we haven't gotten them quite yet, but that's in the process. But otherwise you can listen to it anywhere.
Okay, great. Yeah, I thought for some reason it wasn't out yet, but that's
okay. It's technically before Thanksgiving, and I know some people are weird about Christmas music before Thanksgiving, but
this episode will be out after Thanksgiving, actually. So
sounds good.
It's all fine. I've been inside too long. I have no idea what day it is. So
it is Monday.
Yeah. No. What is the name of your album? I should have that here, but.
Oh yeah, of course. The name of the album is It's Christmastime.
Oh, it's Christmastime. Okay.
Pretty short and sweet. So it's actually the first song on the album. It's Christmastime is the title of the entire album.
Well, again, it's Christmastime is available everywhere. So go out and add it to your Christmas playlist. And Johanna, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
It has been. And if you continue to have more Christmas music and stuff, and you want to promote something, just give me a holler and we'll get another interview, or I'll mention it in the show.
100%. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm hoping that every year, pretty much for the rest of my life, I can have a Christmas song.
Great. Well, I'll pencil you in for next year then.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for stopping by, Johanna.
Of course. You guys have a wonderful evening and Merry Christmas.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Chris. We're a married couple living in New York City. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably love Christmas just as much as we do.
In our podcast, Christmastime in the City, we talk about the history and traditions of the holidays in New York City. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, caroling in Washington Square Park, New Year's Eve in Times Square, the classic Christmas movies filmed here, we cover it all.
In Listener Mail, we answer questions from listeners like you that may be planning a trip or maybe just curious about us.
And in Christmas Confidential, we read anonymous listener-submitted Christmas confessions to help people finally get their deepest Yuletide secrets off their chest.
So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll talk to you soon.
Unless you don't want to, then just forget about it.
Really?
What, too much?
No, it's fine.
Well, as you heard the interview in my last episode, the wonderful people at the Birmingham Children's Theater have put on an absolutely delightful interactive Zoom play, Elves, The Experience, an extremely lively virtual elf saga. Gracie and I loved it. We laughed. It was great. We'll go and catch up with Gracie, see what she thought of the play, and you can hear our rambling thoughts on that. But yeah, it was an hour well worth spent together. It was so fun. It's so funny. I would recommend it. As we say in the interview, especially for younger kids, they say like age group 5 to 11, but probably like that 5 to 8-year-old range is really going to be a hit. And older than that, it's going to depend on your kid, I think, and what level of excitement or belief they may have. But yeah, even not participating in the scavenger hunt and interactive part, just watching it as I did, it was hilarious. And I genuinely loved the performances. Alana Fagan, who played Francis, and Zachary Morton, who played Jojo. Especially, he was our favorite, as you'll hear. So funny. And Alana, her performance was very sweet, very, very energetic and happy, and it really just put me in the Christmas mood. So we enjoyed that. Let's check in with Gracie and get her review on Elves: The Experience. Grace and I are hunkered down in the cozy Christmas cabin, also known as my attic.
Which is a giant mess. You can't see it, but it is. You'll just have to take our word for it, I guess.
It's been a bit chilly outside, which is nice.
I have a blanket.
We had a wonderful opportunity this past week to watch the play Elves. Let's see if I can remember what it stands for. Extremely Lively Virtual Elf. Something that starts with S. But that was, again, a virtual play put on by the Birmingham Children's Theater, directed by Alex Ungerman and written by Sina Skates. And listeners heard an interview with them in just the last podcast, maybe 2 podcasts ago, depending on when this gets out. Thursday night, Grace and I sat down in front of the TV to enjoy the Elves shenanigans. Basically, it's 2 elves, right?
One was named Jojo, and he was male, and one was named Francis, and it was female.
See, Jojo was the green elf, and Francis was the red elf, right? Yeah, so Grace, tell us a bit about Jojo and Francis. What were they like?
All right, starting off with Jojo, a.k.a. in my personal opinion, the crazy elf. You'll learn why. Yes. Jojo is kind of, I don't know how to put this, but Jojo is just crazy. He is very hyper and it's like, but kind of a scaredy cat at the same time. Like, he's very energetic and but he got scared a lot, and by when something bad happened in the play, he'd often be like screaming his head off, and he's like, "We're all gonna die," stuff like that. He's just kind of like the crazy elf and he's just kind of like.
I mean, the kids really are gonna love Jojo because he's that big over-the-top character. His arms are flailing about. I think at one point he almost knocked his set over. It
was just very amusing.
It was great, yeah.
And then Frances, she was the red elf. She was more calm, but still she was confident too, because you see in this play a lot of bad things were happening. So basically all the viewers watching were like Santa's like elf helpers, and for the night, because all this bad stuff was happening, she was like, okay, there has to be a way to fix this. We can do it, And Jojo's over here like, there's no possible way.
Yes.
She's more like confident, but she's still really funny at the same time,
Yeah. Frances was sweet and kind and very, very patient with Jojo, who's, needs to maybe cut down on his sugar intake. I don't know.
I know. He's like, wow, I love this. Yeah. He's going crazy. But
and so what happens is when you sign up for this play and you'll log in, parents will have some things to do to get ready for the play, to hide, because it's going to be kind of like a scavenger hunt for your kids. And, there's a little bit of work for parents to do, but it's not complicated at all. Let's see. So when you log in, Francis and Jojo are there, and then all the kids watching on the Zoom meeting are there, and you can see the kids, and you can,
see the actors and stuff.
Yeah. And basically, so Francis and Jojo are excited to lead the kids through a virtual tour of the North Pole. And then there's a scary thing that happens. We
don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm 11 going on 12, whatever you want to say.
16, yep.
11. But anyway, I will say the play was for what, 4 through 11?
Yeah, they recommend ages is 5 through 11, I think.
Right. I will say it was awesome. It was fun. It was cute. All these little kids were there, and they had this, like, one of the things for the scavenger hunt was, like, go look in the place that's the coldest in your house, and there should be something there waiting. And there was, like, a hat, and all these little, like, 5-year-olds were in there in hats, and oh
Yes.
my word, it was so cute.
That was really cute.
But yeah, I would just say it's maybe made for kids a bit younger than me, but I'm not trying to say I didn't like it. I loved it. It was cute. It was funny, and it was sweet, and it made me laugh. It made me have a good laugh that night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was watching, and Grace and I both were laughing our heads off. And I think it comes down to knowing your kid. Well, and as you heard in the interview, some 13, 14-year-old kids were loving it.
I'm not trying to say I don't love it.
No,
It
yeah,
was
it's
awesome.
boy, I think it's like the scavenger hunt part really appeals to the younger children.
Right.
Because they're super active and they're wanting to do things, and you could see them wiggling around and all
like
that.
wanting to get up and just, that's a
Yeah.
normal 5-year-old,
And then
6-year-old,
And then Grace, as an 11-year-old on that other end of the age recommendation, I think what you're saying is your favorite part is not necessarily the scavenger hunt, but it was the humor, the acting, the story,
the silliness.
Yeah, the silliness. We both
because
really enjoyed that part.
I were watching this 5 years ago, when I was like 6 or 7. I would have loved the scavenger hunt and finding everything. But now that I'm 11 and can, like, learn to, like, sit still and listen, all that stuff, because we've had trouble with that in the past. But now that I've learned, it's just more fun for me to, like, watch the act that's happening. But it was fun. It was a really good play, and they did very well, especially for Zoom, because it's not easy when you're on a Zoom, like, just getting everyone. It's always, and I feel like it's easier for the viewers if they're in person, just,
Yeah.
to see what's really happening. But it was so funny.
This would be hilarious to watch live on a stage. But obviously we can't all do that. What Sina and Alex were able to put together with the limited resources that Zoom has to offer, this is good. Yeah. Oh, it's so good and it's so funny. Like, I know we say this a lot, but we were laughing almost the entire time.
I was literally at one point laying on the floor in my living room, just like dying because
dying of laughter.
JoJo is just that really funny person. I'm not saying Francis wasn't funny. I'm just saying JoJo was hilarious. And then, Francis is over here trying to calm him down because he's like panicking. Yeah. And oh man. So they were like stretching, and JoJo lifted his leg up, and he was like, it was like trying to get it. It was so funny.
Imagine
these are amusing.
a grown man in tight pants trying to stretch. That's
But it was very fun. It was very entertaining, and it wasn't horribly long either.
No, it was about 50 minutes exactly, which I found really impressive. They said it takes approximately 50 minutes. And when you are doing something interactive with children and, you're having them run off to go on a scavenger hunt and come back, they kept things moving. I was impressed that they got it done right at 50 minutes. So
right. It might have taken a bit more, but that's pretty normal just because, like, that's normal for a normal play, to basically any play or show I've been to, they're like approximately an hour or whatever. It takes usually a few more minutes, but just getting everything set up, it's difficult. But
so in the 2 actors that we saw, I don't have their names in front of me, but
they were absolutely
really good,
absolutely great actors.
Yeah. So I guess Gracie, would you recommend folks go and check out this play?
Yes, if your kids like scavenger hunts or just funny acting, yes, I would recommend. And even if they don't love scavenger hunts, but they love acting or the other way around, just it's really fun and funny, and you should go check it out. So
yeah, it was a wonderful way to spend an hour in an evening when we're all stuck inside. There's something for the whole family in this. The younger kids will love the scavenger hunt and the craziness of the elves. And, maybe older kids like Grace's age and into that early teen years, I think they'd appreciate the humor.
And just the funniness for me anyway.
Yeah. And as a parent, I love something that we all love, that this was great.
And it's great probably as adults to see your kids laughing and having
so the play, it keeps that magic alive. The actors who are playing the elves never break character and come out as themselves. They pretend they're the elves through the whole thing.
They really had me thinking, is this their personality? Are they just crazy?
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So anyway, so all that to say, this is a great play.
Absolutely
wonderful. to watch with your family. And I think tickets are on sale now at bct123.org.
And it's very family friendly.
Yep.
So.
And I believe the tickets are $20. You're going to want to double check that on the website. And I think maybe it's like $20 a device, or you can have 2 kids on one device or something like that. But
but it was great. So
yeah, if I were to rank this, it would be 500 stars.
Out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely fun and great.
And I shared some links from the Children's Theater in the show notes of the last episode, and I'll do it again this episode, that they have some videos up on their website. You can see some of the plays they've done this year online. There's a cardboard puppet theater that is really neat, really cool. It's a very simple set they put together, and they just tell these stories.
I'm sure this isn't the only
really
play
amazing.
they're gonna do.
Oh yeah.
They probably do plenty of other things for your kids to watch if they're ever bored. But
so yeah, if you're in the Birmingham area, especially, I'd say support this theater.
Go check them out. They're great.
Yeah. For today's story, I'm going to read 2 of the chapters from the Vermont Homesteader's Christmas Memories by Nancy Carey Johnson. And as you recall, I had her on the podcast a few weeks ago talking about her book. I wanted to read you just a couple stories from there, and she was gracious enough to give me that permission. So, Nancy, I really appreciate that. These are just charming stories. The first one is from chapter 45 called An Early Christmas for Jolly. And this is the dog that she adopted, or the dog who adopted Nancy. Here's chapter 45, An Early Christmas for Jolly. It was years ago in early December when we were adopted by our dog Jolly, who, as you know, was starving and freezing, literally, and needed a family to love and care for her. What we didn't know at that time was just how much we needed to love and care for a dog. Jolly has brought so much love and joy into our lives since her arrival, and her antics are a riot. Here's an example of her hilarious shenanigans. On a relatively warm and sunny afternoon, I'd decorated our front porch with garlands of greens and little white lights. Graceful swags were hanging from the porch roof between the upright posts that were also wrapped in lights and greens and finished with a red ribbon on each of them. Then it occurred to me that it would be really cute if I put my coffee table, which looks like a sleigh, on the front porch and stacked wrapped packages on it. I placed 3 packages of varying sizes with colored wrapping on it. In retrospect, I wish I had put stones in them so they wouldn't blow over if the wind started getting feisty. Ah well, lesson learned. After looking at my handiwork, I thought, it would be really cute if I added this Christmas bear, which sports a bright red knitted sweater with a green Christmas tree on the front. It'll look, kinda, like all sorts of wonderful gifts are stuffed into Santa's sleigh. I added the bear as a topper. Apparently, I didn't have my thinking cap on, because had I would have put 2 and 2 together and remembered that Jolly loves stuffed animals. Any and all of them. The very moment my back was turned, she ran over, snatched that teddy bear from the sleigh, and joyfully ran hell-bent for election as far away from me as possible, with the prized bear clenched between her teeth. Right. What was I thinking? Never mind, I obviously wasn't. Let's just say that Christmas came early that year for my jolly girl. Then I went to read chapter 72, called A Festival of Lessons and Carols. As I may have mentioned, I grew up attending Grace Church in Brooklyn Heights. It was a large Gothic revival stone church built in 1848. During my childhood, much of my life revolved around Grace Church. It's where I went to preschool. It's where I was involved in the youth group. It's where my mother helped to organize the Christmas fair, at which, as a little child, I had my first candy apple and couldn't wait for subsequent fairs to have another one. And later, when I was older, I volunteered to work the fair whenever I was needed. It's where I volunteered to work for community dinners, where I sang in the choral society, where my siblings were baptized. I had a cold, and so Reverend Atwater came to my parents' house to baptize me, where my sister was married, where both my parents' memorial services were held when they passed away. I know every inch of that church, and yet the very first time I went to the church's festival of lessons and carols, I was already 16. The service was held at 5 p.m. 2 or 3 days before Christmas. I went because I had asked Reverend Cheryl, who took over for Reverend Atwater when he retired, if there was ever a time when the congregation sang lots of Christmas carols, and he suggested I attended. I was enraptured, and not, as it turns out, just because of all the Christmas carols we sang. There was something about that night that touched me to my very soul. It was perhaps the holiest experience I've ever had. I felt as though I was connected to all that is and all that ever was. It was as if time stood still. No, it was more like time opened up. It could have been the 20th century or the 18th century, and it didn't matter when it was, because, in reality, it was all time. Sadly, even with such an amazing experience, for a myriad of reasons, I've never had a chance to go back and attend another one. But I wish I had. I wish I could. That night is an experience that burns bright and strong within me, and it's one I'll never, ever forget. Those are a couple of Christmas memories from the Vermont Homesteaders Christmas Memories by Nancy Carey Johnson. I picked to read one about Jolly because I love stories about animals and their antics. It just reminds me of the joys of being owned by a pet. Then her story about just that spiritual moment she had when she was singing music and singing Christmas music. As you recall from her interview, we share a love of music, and in today's episode, I was able to interview a musician and thought that this story would be applicable here. There is power in song, there is power and such emotion contained in music that it's able to teach us so much in such a simple way. And so today I hope that you find great joy in listening to Christmas music, whatever time of the year you're listening to this episode. I'd love for you to just crank up the Christmas music loud and share the joy of music. Okay, so before I go, I do want to just give a quick few business matters to take care of. Again, you can support the show on Ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. And you can go to the website, search for Cozy Christmas Podcast. You'll find it. You can, for the price of a cup of coffee, help support the show. Other ways, free ways you can support the show is to share it on your social medias and rate and review us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you can review podcasts. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And you can find us on just about all over the place on any podcast hosting service. If there's one I'm not on, just let me know. I'll see if I can get that on there for you. All right. So in the meantime, folks, I hope you're doing well. I hope you stay healthy. And I love for you to be kind to each other, to share your stories, and to remember that there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. Have a very Merry Christmas.